Hello, everyone. My name is Dan Fionescu, and I'll be your instructor for this term for Business Ethics course. A warm welcome from my end with respect to the spring-summer term of your NCT learning experience. Let me give you some information regarding my profile and my experience. If you have seen by now into your course shell in Canvas, at the instructor contact, I have added my email address, which is dan.fiorenascu@niagaracollegetoronto.ca. But in the same time, I shared with you my profile on LinkedIn network in order to get some insight about myself. So I'm a finance professional with more than 20 years of experience in a global landscape. I have a bachelor degree in accounting and a master in finance and economics. I have been taught in specialization courses in accounting from ACCA UK, and I'm in a MBA with University Canada West. In addition, I have earned my Certified Digital Marketing Associate credential last year in 2022. I've been working in various roles and responsibility in many companies whom you've been able to see some of their logos with Siemens, with Foresia, Trilon, Perry, or Comet Electronics. And in every position or every role, I had at some point an insight with respect to ethics in a project, or whether I was responsible for a business unit or throughout a product launch into the Canadian market, or overseeing an office launch in the Middle East area. I like very much to travel around the world. I've worked and lived in 3 different countries on 3 different continents, and I moved to Canada in 2012. I like to see myself as a citizen of the world, and I enjoy this multicultural and very inclusion and promising environment, which is our beautiful country, Canada. I like reading books. Always a good book will make my day. I'm very much fond of history reading and as well ancient cultures, and I like it. Obviously, outdoor activities, hiking, skiing, or swimming. I like and I enjoy to teach. I've discovered recently this passion, and I feel proud and joy when I see young professionals that are curious, and I'm happy that I'm able to share from my experience with them, with you, and gain knowledge and gain a certain mindset in any area that I teach, and prepare you for your career ahead of time. So the agenda for today is split in several sections. We're going to go through the course overview. The TLP has been published, so we'll go a little bit through some of the assessment into the TLP. And if you have any questions or any comments before we dive into the week 1 content, please drop me an email in Canvas or to my email address that I mentioned before, and I'll be more than happy to guide you, to support you, and to answer any of your inquiry that you might have. Course structure and schedule. So we have 15 weeks ahead of us. If we don't consider the week 8, which is the reading week, we will meet on a regular basis on Saturday. And upon successful completion of this course, you will be having an ability and understanding business ethics, and as well gaining the knowledge to be able to use this information with respect to your workplace, with respect to your career. We will try to integrate ethics with regards to why and how exist into the society. We'll get into the details and we'll explain why and how ethics is important in business. What will be ethics outside of the organization influence, and how those will converge one to each other, the society and as well the business ethics. How we will try to assess the future of business ethics with respect to the technology issues and the globalization, and we'll analyze factors affecting ethical behavior and the effect ethical decision might have on individuals, employees, and organizations. So we have 3 sections in terms of the evaluation. So a very important topic is that please ensure that you have a copy, either digital or on paper, with your teaching and learning plan, and do a plan on a weekly basis with the knowledge, with the requirements in terms of tests, assignments, or in-class activities. And most important than that, please and try to be present and active as well in the class, as well in your free time with respect to absorbing the knowledge. And I guarantee that you will be successful in completing this course with flying colors. An important thing with respect to our course is McGraw-Hill Connect. Please ensure that you take the time and complete the registration with McGraw-Hill Connect. Our book for our core syllabus is based on Canadian business and society, ethics, responsibilities, and sustainability by Robert W. Sexty. Please ensure that you have access to McGraw-Hill Connect. You have a username and a password, and please purchase the book as it is mandatory for your success engaging the necessary skill set and the necessary knowledge with respect to the business ethics. Few reminders: the class will be in person only. All the assignments will be graded within the appropriate timeline of the due date, 7 to 10 days, or even earlier. There will be a 10% per day penalty for all late submissions. Grades would be automatically deducted, and this cannot be undone. Please ensure you submit your assignments before the due date and keep enough buffer time in case of a network issue, or in case you have an issue and you cannot submit on time. In that case, you please reach out to me as soon as possible, and as well ensure you complete and submit the academic consideration form when you reach out to me. Like I said, if you have any questions or comments, please reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to be able to guide you, to be able to answer to any of your questions that you might have with respect to business ethics course. An important thing as to set the expectations in terms of this course, I think it's merely important to be an active listener, to be a communicative individual. Please be mindful of your time management. It is important to have a solution development mindset, and obviously, please have attention to the details. So that being said, today we will talk about relationship between business and society. Chapter 1 from your course syllabus. These are the learning outcomes. I don't get into the details for this, but important when you are talking about business ethics is to set up the expectations and to have the ground rules related to a business, how a business operates, yeah, or with respect to what are the internal factors and external factors that might be able to affect the relationship or the understanding of each individual towards the business ethics. So our focus obviously will be about the Canadian business systems. So throughout this course, you will gain information and you will have a better understanding of the system with respect to the Canadian capitalism, the stakeholders involved, and the society attitudes. You will identify the business response to its roles and society. Learn how business corporations have responded to many challenges in their environment, and address each of the above from perspective of manager or owner to emphasize the dynamic nature of the environment. Obviously, corporations, this is one form. If you remember from your previous classes, from your accounting, financial accounting courses, there are several ways in considering what a business means or how a business can be set up into the Canadian environment. Irrespective of the registration form, the corporation must consider the following information and rules. Meeting humanity needs without harming future generations. Social responsibility and corporate sustainability reports should move beyond being a public relations exercise, demanding accountability beyond economics. Responses to social, ethical, and environmental responsibilities constitute a valuable intangible asset. Executive must have the skills and competency to manage these additional responsibilities successfully. Responses to these responsibilities will determine corporation that will survive. So irrespective to the business, it is merely important to have an integrity and to be social responsible. So integrity means it's an appropriateness of a corporation behaviors and its adherence to moral guidelines acceptable to society. Managing with integrity. Business leaders behave in a manner consistent with their own highest value and norms of behavior. Those values are self-imposed, but not arbitrary or self-serving. Responsible corporation means a business undertaking that responds to social, ethical, and environmental responsibility in addition to economic obligations. Key terminology relating the integrity in business, it is ethics of business. Talking about stakeholders, think about it from a company perspective. What are the stakeholders? How many stakeholders categories would you be thinking when we talk about a company and its relations to the external environment? Because the company itself is the internal environment. It is the comfort zone of all the stakeholders that are present within the company. So think about it. There are internal and external. So internal stakeholders. If you think of external stakeholders, you think of employees, managers, directors, board of directors, owners as well. If the company is a public entity, which means their stocks are traded at the stock exchange, it means we are having another set of stakeholders, which are external and comes in playing various roles with respect to the company. So we have suppliers, we have customers, yeah. We have the financial institutions, we have banks, which are working towards with our company to be able to provide the necessary funding in order to increase our business in different regions or in different provinces if we are talking about the Canadian landscape. And as well, shareholders. Shareholders are external stakeholders. And it's merely important when an individual wants to invest money in buying other companies' stocks. They seek, is this company a business that I would like to invest in? It is an ethical company? Do they follow? Do they support corporate sustainability? Are they a corporate social responsibility company? What do they care the most within the triple bottom line? People, planet, or only the profit? Are they a corporate citizenship? So it is very important so that we dive in and we understand what are those areas. And as such, integrity of business students, the environment we live in and the environment we work in, for some of you who are working in various roles and responsibilities in every sector, in the private sector or in the public sector, have come up with the situation that all the institution, all the education environment is responsible for providing the necessary knowledge to the future, to the students, which are the future workforce. As such, graduates need a moral compass and understanding the business ethics. How do they relate with sensitivity to integrity issues? And as well, the business schools must become aware and address all those moral dilemmas from a staff, faculty, and from a student perspective. There are several approaches to ethical thinking, but there are three dominant approaches to normative theories of ethics, which is deontological, duties and rule-based ethics, teleological or consequential theories, theory of morality that derives duty of moral obligation from what is good or desirable as at the end to be achieved, as an end to be achieved. Obviously, virtue ethics, virtuous characters traits like courage, like loyalty or wisdom. It is very important that not only all the CEOs and CFOs, all the leaders of a company have virtues, but also the employees engage and absorb these virtues like courage, like loyalty and wisdom. Deontological ethics, actions are ethical if done for sake of what is good without regard for consequences of the act. Decision based upon duty and adherence to universal principle. Individuals have duty to do the right thing, even if consequences of another action are preferable. So think about it. If you work in a factory and you are responsible for an inventory activity, and you go into the warehouse and you see one of your colleagues not having the appropriate attire, like the casket, or as well the PPE equipment, the boots, and as well the vest, what would you do at that time? You know it is a risk, and you know it is not correct if your colleague will go into the warehouse section without the proper attire. So that means you have the obligation to have the right judgment in order to obviously let him or let her know that it is mandatory and it is for your own safety. So safety first, it is something that will have the company acting accordingly, and each employee should do the same. At this stage, you will have veil of ignorance, and I recommend you to watch this video when you are watching this lecture or when you are revising your past week lecture and the syllabus. Teleological ethics. These are focuses on outcomes or results of actions. Utilitarianism. Individuals make decisions based on consequences of an action. Decision believed to be good if end result is good. Decisions should result in the greatest good for the greatest number. Virtuous ethics emphasizes individual's character or identity, focuses on being instead of doing, right? Morality based on development or good character, traits, virtues, assumes good person will act ethical and will be ethical, responsible. Absolute rules unlikely to apply in all situations. It is very, very important that we act accordingly in any situation, and we have to apply in any circumstances, irrespective of the outcome. Business as an economic system. What is an economic system? It is an arrangement using land, labor, and capital to produce, distribute, and exchange goods and services to meet the needs and want of people in society. So key terminology is capitalism, free enterprises, private enterprises systems, laissez-faire capitalism, responsible enterprise system. So capitalism provides most goods and services, but public and non-profit sectors are also involved, and they have their own responsibility in diving in being present and having a voice with respect to the environment, with respect to the system. Canadian business systems is comprised of, as I mentioned you earlier, and if you remember from your courses in terms of financial accounting, so a Canadian business can be a sole proprietorship, an unincorporated business that is owned by one individual. If we think of a small shop that is a family business owned by one individual. Partnership, relationship between two or more individuals, corporations, trusts, or partnership that join together to achieve similar goals. And of course, incorporated entities, which is legal entities or corporations. Any individual may operate business if they are capable of entering into a binding agreement. Their business activity is legal. Individual respects legal principles governing persons, property, and obligations. In this respect, there are two doctrines of incorporation: concession doctrine and the freedom of association. Concession doctrines, it means incorporations was conferred by public act and could not be made by private agreements among several persons to associate together for business purposes. Can you give me an example of concession doctrine company? So it is an incorporation that was done by a public act and could not be made by private agreements among several persons. If you think of industries that are of national importance, those are the companies related with this concession doctrine. Think about it. Niagara Falls. Okay. So as such, Niagara Falls provides a huge amount of electricity. So a corporation has been created, has been incorporated by public act by the provincial government of Ontario. And this Niagara Falls company, or Hydro Ontario, or Hydro Quebec. So companies that are using land, or they are using rivers which belongs to the country, do not have the possibility to be done or to be incorporated by private associations, by individuals. So a company that is acting in a domain which is of merely national importance is done by a public act. So in this example that I mentioned about the Niagara Falls Hydro or Hydro-Quebec or even Toronto Hydro, they are acting in an industry that is very important to our country, to our province. As such, there are no companies private companies that they can have access to rivers or lakes and they can produce the electricity. This is only done by companies which have state-owned control. The second doctrine of corporation is freedom of association. Association of individuals coming together for some purpose is fundamental to forming a corporation. So when a business is incorporated, a separate legal entity is also created with a bank account, with a constitutive act, and as well with a board of directors and with a management team. So society, the environment, the external environment is giving permissions to anyone to have a business. But it is important to follow the legitimacy principle, which is a belief in the rightness of an institution, in this case, the appropriateness of our business systems to supply the goods and services that are required by the Canadian society. So to be legitimate, the business enterprise system must respond to the changing values and expectations in the society. So attitude, feedback, or criticism must be monitored accordingly. The management should take action to counter negative views and to be able to offset those views into a positive mindset. Social license is the privilege of operating in society with minimal formalized restrictions, based on maintaining public trust by doing what is acceptable to stakeholders in the business and society relationship. Must be earned and maintained. It is not permanent because societies believe perceptions and opinions might change or are changing for sure. To assess society's permission, measure trust Canadians have in the business enterprise system. It is very important to have access and to gain the knowledge of what is right and what is wrong towards an individual in relationship with the society. What are my rights? What are my responsibility is equally important when you set yourself as an individual with respect to ethics in business and your connectivity, your dependence onto the society. So there are several attitudes toward business from the business owners, from within the relationship with the society. So there are factors that influence the attitude towards the business. Standard of living, right? Decentralized decision making, allocation of resources, self-interest. What is the business cycle? In the same time, business wrongdoing, the impact of the globalization. What is the situation with respect to unemployment, technological innovation, media coverage, and as well the government? These are factors that are influencing the business owners, whether they are willing to invest their money and to create more businesses and to grow those businesses in Ontario, in Canada. That is part of how secure, how good is to do business in Canada and what society supports me, how society supports me in this respect. So the people who runs Canadian businesses are many, and they are categorized in various categories, right? So there are owners that they have direct ownership, and these are the shareholders, if you remember. They are indirect owners, which are having an ownership percentage, and these are the mutual fund holders. Board of directors, which are elected by shareholders, concerned with shareholders' primary objectives, return on investment, increasing focus on corporate social responsibility. Managers, which are hired by the board of directors, and they have to oversee the operations, the day-to-day activities. So business and society, they need each other. The internal environment, which is a business, with the external environment, they are communicating one way or another. So as such, there must be a shared value in which both businesses and society, they get benefit one of each other. The goal is to reduce the friction between society and business and to increase the benefits of the both parties. Social contract. It is a set of two-way understandings that characterize the relationship between two major institutions. Integration is the focus of this textbook, and it is very important that you as students absorb this knowledge with respect to the business and society, because at some point in time in your career, you will be working in a business or you will be working in a public service office, so that you have to know what is the impact of your action towards the society. The social contract that I'm telling you right now, the two-way understanding, which reflects the relationship between all those parties, the business and the society. I will reach out. I have reached out to the summary of our lecture with respect to the learning objectives and with respect to the summary that we have discussed throughout chapter 1 of our course syllabus. The relationship between business and society is complex. To understand the relationship, it is necessary to have a certain knowledge with respect to the business systems and the capitalism in particular. Business integrity is the appropriateness of a corporation behavior and its adherence to moral guidelines acceptable to society, such as honesty, fairness, and justice. Three main approaches to ethical thinking are deontological, teleological, and virtues ethics. The Canadian business system is usually referred to as a form of capitalism. The business system does have some defects, but it is constantly changing to reflect society's demand. Several forms of business enterprise exist. The most common is the incorporated enterprise, the corporation. The modern corporation is accountable not only to the government, but also to the society in general. And of course, the society allows business to function as a system to provide goods and services for the society. So the two concepts that help to understand this concept are legitimacy and social license. I hope you enjoy this lecture, and I wish you a great day, and I look forward to seeing you next week in class. Bye for now.